Not too bad. You get there and then you just go up one.
Yeah, right.
Is it time?
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It's moving hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we can get there, but we know within. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. We are going. Heaven knows where we are going, but we know within. And we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Good morning. Morning. Theo, you say good morning better than anybody I've ever known in my life. Well, welcome everyone to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where our mission is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world. Or, as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. We begin, as we do each Sunday, by embracing all that you bring with you to this space, all of your unique beliefs, your unique background, your lifestyle, your experiences, your differences, all that helps make you who you are is welcome here this morning. So welcome to one and all, whether you are in the room with us or if you're live streaming with us or even watching the recording later. It's great to have you as part of our service too. We always appreciate you being here. So welcome to everyone. A couple of announcements. One, I want to remind you that our annual meeting is going to be happening Sunday, June 4th after our second service, beginning at 12:30, probably go on a couple hours or more, so be prepared for that. This is when we will come together to elect new board members, to make any changes to our bylaws that might need to be made, and approve our budget. And just to entice you so that you're don't have to worry about being overly hungry, board member Sarah Darcy has promised to help provide some finger food so that you'll have a little something to snack on that day too. So please put it on your calendar. We will need a quorum in order to conduct the business of the church, so we're counting on you being here. Also, to the choir, thank you for that great way of getting us started this morning. This is the choir's last Sunday for the season. They'll be taking a couple months off for the summer. And
Hence the way we're dressed, it's vacation time.
Grass skirt, yeah. So they're ready to go on vacation. We're not sure where they're going. But anyway, we thank you so... We going... Where are you going? South Pacific or?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Why not? Or maybe just to see a Broadway show. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, really, it's been a really great year. Thank you all so much for all the volunteering and effort you put into helping to make our Sundays special. We appreciate it. Well deserved. And now there is a 2-month hiatus for you to truly contemplate what you've been thinking about for some time. Should I join the choir? So, yes, the The choir would like to grow and have more joyful voices to sing with. So if that's something you'd be interested in, please consider it for the next couple of months and let Deb Jackman know if you're interested in being part of the choir. Okay, I think that's. Am I forgetting anything? I forgot a lot first service, so I think that's it for now. So why don't we take a few moments then to greet one another this morning? Yeah, go ahead. I don't know, I probably say more usually, but go ahead. All right, more opportunity to visit with one another as always during our social hour following the service, so please do stay for that. But let's move forward now by lighting our chalice. The chalice is the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need. And may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
Our opening reflection today is from novelist Sarah Maitland's book called A Big Enough God. I often dream I am a tightrope walker. I climb the rope ladder slowly, carefully, adjusting to its wrigglings. The wooden slats mutter to me all the way up. The rungs my right foot stands on say, "If you are afraid of falling, you will fall." And the rungs my left foot presses say, "If you believe you cannot fall, you will fall." Eventually, I arrive on the little platform at the top. I strip off my tracksuit and am revealed in all my sequined glory. I look out and down at the upturned eyes, sparkling brighter than my costume. Then the spotlight pins me, and I hear its mocking tones. It says, "And probably, in the end, you will fall anyway." And in my dream, I always listen politely and know it is true, and then I go out, sparkling, flashing, and dance on the void. That is the challenge, the moment of hope, to dance as near the edge of destruction as is possible, to be willing to fall and still not fall. And the audience cheers because it is beautiful and because they know that this time I may indeed fall, and because they know that that is precisely why it is beautiful, and I have made it beautiful.
Our first in-service song of the morning is We Are. You will find the words on the screen or in your turquoise hymnal. It's 10:51. Please rise.
We're now going to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and our minds. And we begin today with a candle, as we have been, for the people of Ukraine and that region of the world who are most suffering from the terrible violence going on there. Also want to kindle a candle for Sarah Stoll, one of our newer members who's dealing with some health issues, and ask us to keep her in our thoughts and hearts at this time. And with apologies, I'm lighting a candle today on behalf of church member Ann Wenger. I should have done this a couple of weeks ago, but it came to me in text, and I forgot, Ann, so I'm really sorry. But Ann's brother Joe passed away of a heart attack at age 68 just a couple of weeks ago. Joseph Michael Conway. And you may remember that their mother passed away just less than 3 months ago now. So they've had a lot of loss in the family. Ann was very close to her brother, who was an important part of their overall family, and leaves behind a daughter and grandchildren and lots of folks who are going to miss him, especially after something taking him so unexpectedly and suddenly. So please keep Ann and Mike and their entire family in your thoughts at this time as they go through an awful lot of grief in their family. And let's do take a moment of silence, or semi-silence is okay. Charlie, semi-silence is okay. On behalf of others that we might be thinking of, and you're always welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our very lovely semi-silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. We do have a special collection this month, and this is the day that we hold it. Our special collection is for the Freedom Project East. And some of you may remember Jermaine Williams, who spoke here on behalf of this organization a couple of months ago now? Last month. Jermaine famously was so excited he broke our pulpit in half, or actually the little flat here that I use, and Dan Ekert was kind enough to take it and reinforce it, so we can invite him back sometime, because he's a very popular speaker. And what, as I understand it, what Freedom Project East is really about is taking folks like Jermaine, who, when he was 17, I believe, was sentenced to 37 years or something like that in prison. He spent, I think, about 25 years in prison, and came out and just unfolded, which is really what our service is about today. And sometimes we need others to help us unfold. And he's part of this organization now that is being used to help those who have done time to come out and succeed in society, to fully integrate into society, not be sort of permanently marked in a way that prevents them from being not only productive members of society, but healthy, whole, happy human beings. So this is a really important type of organization and service in our community, in our world. You know, I mean, sentencing a 17-year-old to 37 years in prison who spent 25 years there, what good did that do anybody? What good did that really do us outside of cost us a lot of money as taxpayers? I don't understand it. But apparently he's not a bitter person at all. He's full of life, he's full of enthusiasm, he's full of joy, he's full of passion, everything a human being is supposed to be. And part of that's because of this important work he's able to do for others now. So I'm sure that many of you will want to contribute to today's special collection, the Freedom Project East. And as always, just use the special collection envelope that you find in your order of service, and we'll know that that's what your contribution is for. And I thank you in advance, as always, for your generosity. We now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world.
It exists to give you comfort. It is
so a couple things. We were supposed to have a new member welcome ceremony this morning, but our new members haven't shown up. But I'm sure they'll be back. So I thought what we would do instead of that is I'm going to tell you the names of our new members, and we are going to have cake afterwards, after the service. How's that sound? Yay! So we do have the new member welcome cake. So we're going to celebrate Kathleen MacDonald and Jim MacDonald, Katie Lewis, Sarah Stoley, Michael Peak joining us in the last after our last class just a month or so ago, and Doug Deaton, who was actually 2 classes ago, came in for this so we could celebrate you, and I just saw you walk in a few minutes ago. So we're not going to have the official ceremony, but would you come up here, because I want to give you... Yes. I feel like I've known Doug forever, actually. How long have you... Come on. Because you joined recently, but how long have you been part of our lives now? Come here.
About 15 months.
About 15 months, so
Yeah.
seems like forever. Anyway, which one of those roses do you want?
Yeah, that one looks good.
That one looks good, okay. Because you are a rose in this church. I really mean it. You really brighten my day every time I see you, and I know it's so for a lot of those who know you. You've got a wonderful, friendly, inquisitive spirit. So the rose is supposed to be a symbol of the invitation to unfold and grow in our community. But I think you're going to help us do that as much as. By the way, we're going to be voting to put you on the board in a couple of days. Yeah. So, boy, he'll be doing some unfolding there. Let me tell you. All right, so we'll put these roses back by the cake so that folks will know where the cake is, just in case you get lost. And that was going to be in place of our children's story, because it usually takes a little bit of time to do that. Now, it just so happens that yesterday I was here doing a service for NAUA, North American Unitarian Association, and I did a story for all ages then, because I want to make sure that kids are included in that part of the process from day one. And I forgot to take my 2 puppets home. So it's a repeat story, but if you don't mind, you want to come up, I'm happy to give a story for all ages. Yeah? Good! Yay! Come on up. Now, this is a story that I've done a few times here, I think, over the years. In fact, it is the first puppet story I ever did. I ever wrote, never did write this one down, but it's a story called The Eagle and the Mouse. Hence, The Eagle and the Mouse. Now, this is an interesting story because it doesn't really matter if I begin... Yeah, Max, go ahead. You got your hand up. Predator and prey, true, yeah. Fortunately, that's not going to happen here. Okay, so it doesn't really matter which we start with. Once upon a time there was a mouse, or once upon a time there was an eagle, so long as both end up in the story. So which one do you want me to start with? Eagle. Eagle? Okay, all right. So once upon a time, there was an eagle circling high overhead when it noticed a little tiny mouse down below that was busy nibbling her way through a tree that had fallen across her path. Nibble, nibble, nibble. She was so busy she didn't really notice anything going on around her, not even the eagle, until it landed right behind her and blocked the sun, to which point she turned with a start and said, "Oh, my." And the eagle said, "Don't worry, little mouse, I'm not going to eat you. I just pulled a trout from the great stream of life Besides, you're so small, you wouldn't even make a good snack. Oh, said the mouse, well, I'm very happy about that, but if you're not going to eat me, I think I'm going to get back to nibbling through this log. Well, that's why I'm here, said Eagle. I noticed you nibbling through that log, and I'm wondering why. Why are you trying to nibble through the log? And Mouse said, well, why am I trying to nibble through the log? Well, because, and she scratched her ear, as she does when she thinks, and because she has fleas. And said, oh my, I've been so busy nibbling through this log that I can't remember why I'm doing it. I've been so focused, I can't remember why I'm trying to nibble through the log. And then she said, oh yes, I remember now. What is it, said the eagle. I'm trying to get to the other side. Of course you're trying to get to the other side, said Eagle. I can see that. I can see everything. I have great eagle vision. I can see all the way to the edge of forever plus one day. Oh, said Mouse, that's quite a far way. Yes, said Eagle, and I'm curious, how do you know what's on the other side of that log? Maybe there's a hungry animal waiting to snatch you up. Maybe there's an even bigger tree that has fallen across the path you'll need to nibble your way through. Maybe there's a great edge of a cliff that you might fall off to your doom. Oh my, said Mouse, I've been so busy focusing on getting through the tree, I didn't think about all those things. Can you tell me with your eagle vision what's on the other side of the tree? Well, of course I can, said the eagle. I told you I have great eagle vision. I can see all the way to the edge of forever. Yes, plus one day, we know. But what's on the other side of the log? The eagle looked and said, well, it looks to me like you're heading towards Great Spirit's Lodge at the foot of Thunder Mountain. And Mouse said, aha, now I remember. I've been so busy focusing on getting through this log that I forgot the purpose of my journey. Thank you, Eagle. Thank you for reminding me. Well, since you're not going to eat me, I suppose I should get back to work. And she started nibbling away at the log again and noticed that the eagle didn't fly off. And she turned around and asked, tell me, Eagle, are you also going to Great Spirit's Lodge at the foot of Thunder Mountain? Me? Why, no. I told you, I have eagle vision. I can see how far away it is. Why, I wouldn't even know where to begin. That's why I just spend my day flying around in circles, going nowhere. Well, said Mouse, can you also tell me how far I've come? Well, of course I can. I can look all the way back to the very beginning, plus one day. Well, tell me, how far have I come? Well, I'd say you're making good progress. You've already come about halfway. Halfway? And I didn't even know where I was going. Perhaps you can fly in circles above me and follow me to remind me of the purpose of my journey, and together we shall get to Great Spirit's Lodge together. And that's what they did. From that point on, Eagle Vision, with his great vision and ability to see the big picture, hovered overhead to remind Mouse of the journey they were on, and the Mouse focused on the individual steps to get them. And together, Eagle and Mouse journeyed to Great Spirit's Lodge at the foot of Thunder Mountain. Yes, Max. The log was very long, and the mouse was very small, and it would have been like walking many miles to the mouse. So the mouse thought it would be better just to chew its way through. Never been asked that question before, but I had a good answer. Okay, well now seeing our... Oh yes, you have a question, yeah. The mouse is not going to get eaten because the eagle is watching out for the mouse. They're buds now. And the eagle's going to be watching out, and if it sees any predators, it's going to say, hey mouse, I see a predator there in the distance. Why don't you take a hiatus, hide under the rocks for a while? It's another one I've not been asked, but any more? Okay. All right.
As we move into a time of meditation, you are invited to find a comfortable, receptive position. Close your eyes if you wish, take a few deeper breaths, and reflect on these words from professor and scholar in mindfulness and stress reduction, Jon Kabat-Zinn. Can we be in touch with our own life unfolding? Can we rise to the occasion of our own humanity? Can we take on the challenges we meet, even seeking them out, to test ourselves, to grow, to act in a principled way, to be true to ourselves, to find our own way, and ultimately not only have it, but more importantly, live it?
All right, I am so excited for our reading today because it is written by one of my greatest heroes in life, William Shatner. This is a book Peggy got me for my birthday called Boldly Go, Reflections on a Life of Awe and Wonder. And I'm just going to read the first paragraph of the introduction and the last paragraph of the book. Long before Gene Roddenberry put me on a starship to explore the galaxy, long before I actually ventured into space, I had been gripped by my own search for knowledge, for even a fraction more understanding than I'd had before, perhaps even more for meaning. If I never succeed, never discover the answer to the age-old question of why, to be always learning, always wondering, well, the quest itself keeps me vital. I get a tingle down in my spine when I'm presented with an opportunity to learn something new, a daily occurrence for me, even at 91 years old. Open your eyes, your ears, your mind, and you'll quickly be overcome by the wonder that surrounds us. I'm never so thrilled as when the word wow escapes my mouth. It's an almost involuntary expression of childlike delight at learning something new. I probably say wow more now than when I was a child, and I'm absolutely enchanted by that fact. It was the ultimate expression of my life's journey. I have lived 1,000 lives. I have journeyed far and wide. I have gone boldly, carried on by a river of fate to a destination I cannot see, but to which each day I am brought one step closer. I have searched my whole life for meaning, for connection, and though I cannot touch its essence or unravel its vast mystery, I believe that in my soul I have found what I have been looking for.
So we're going to do a little more John Denver, a couple of pieces, and I want to let you know that back behind the choir is Marshall Peterson, and he's on a drum kit, and he's going to help us out. It's lots of fun to have him. So here we go.
Thank you all very much. Nancy's grass skirt reminds me that I was once in a production of South Pacific. Grass skirt, coconut bra, everything. It was terrible. I can't, what did you say? Billis? That's who I played, yeah. I didn't like it. A long story, but after I left news, was going in, basically this college asked me if I would be a cameo in their production. I said, all right, you know. Well, you got to come to, like I had to try out. I didn't even want to try. And they made me sing, which was terrible. And everybody applauded when I sang, by the way, but it was like sympathy applause. Like, yeah, way to go. You know, good for you. Give it a, you know, made me feel even worse, you know. Yeah, and then I get this part and I got to go to rehearsal for weeks. And then, yeah, I got to wear this grass skirt and coconut bra out on stage in front of everybody. It's torture. Not who I am, I can tell you, which is what my sermon is about. So I'm going to begin by saying how dumbfounded I am, as I'm guessing many in the room are, by those claiming to be against abortion because they value life, yet are also against sex education, contraception, and Planned Parenthood. They also tend to be against meaningful gun control measures, even though we see stories in the news about mass shootings almost weekly, often involving the very innocent children they claim to care so much about. Women don't have a right to choose whether or not they'll remain pregnant, but we can't possibly take the rights away from men to own military-style assault weapons that are made for nothing more than mass murder. It makes no sense. When it comes to gun rights, it turns out that life isn't so valuable after all. And the disconnect here is one that's easy for us all to make at some level, and that is the disconnect between life and quality of life. Jesus is reported to have said, "I have come that they may have life, and that they may have it more abundantly." He was about abundant life, not heartbeats. We cannot claim to care more about the unborn while not caring even more about what happens to them after they've been born. By which I don't mean merely keeping their hearts beating, but that they have a reasonable quality of life in which they can find happiness and achieve their fullest potential as human beings. Fully unfolding is a drive that is in most of us, but it is easily constrained in societies that don't value quality of life. But we are not here to merely occupy space, consume resources, and breathe air after we're born, nor merely to get a job and eke out a measly living so that a handful of others can become wealthy beyond measure. We are here to fully unfold as individuals by achieving our fullest potential, which usually requires us to have a certain quality of life. We need to have a certain quality of life before we can do that. We need, as Maslow showed, to have our basic physiological needs met, along with our needs for safety and security and love and belonging, before we can find the freedom, or at least enjoy the freedom, to concentrate on self-actualization and becoming all that we can be. Social psychologist Erich Fromm says, "The whole meaning of life is to develop into the individual one potentially is, and that the duty to be alive is the same as the duty to become oneself." That's a strange juxtaposition of terms. How can we be anything other than ourselves? The answer is that we grow and that we change. There's a line in another of John Denver's songs, "Some Days Are Diamonds, Some Days Are Stone," that says, "Now the face that I see in my mirror more and more is a stranger to me." But we don't only grow older, we also evolve and change over the years, as do our values and our beliefs, sometimes becoming people far different than we ever were. "More and more I can see there's a danger in becoming what I never thought I'd be," the song continues. "But the real danger is not becoming the best person that we can be by having reached our fullest potential. In his book, The Soul's Code, psychologist James Hillman says, the Greeks believed that the soul of each of us is given a unique demon before we are born, and it has selected an image or pattern that we live on earth. In this sense, he says, your demon is the carrier of your destiny. The Latin word for demon, for this demon, is genius, which shares the same root as gene, genetics, and genesis. Genius means attendant spirit present from one's birth. It was originally thought of as a small inner voice, the guiding spirit or calling that is always reminding us of who we're supposed to be or become. Some nagging presence in us that longs to be fulfilled. We have genes that determine what we look like, how tall we might be, our coloring, and maybe even some inherited personality traits. It seems reasonable there might also be something unique about each one of us, our genetic configuration, that helps determine our skills and our passions. Hillman says these drives often become apparent from the start of our lives, even in childhood. We might be children in every way but some special way that our parents recognize. Just as all that is needed to become a mighty oak is already contained in the tiniest of acorns, each of us comes into this world fully packed. Hillman says the acorn theory holds that each person bears a uniqueness that asks to be lived and that is already present before it can be lived. Consider this, he writes. Amateur night at the Harlem Opera House. A skinny, awkward 16-year-old goes fearfully on stage. She's announced to the crowd. The next contestant is a young lady named Ella Fitzgerald. Miss Fitzgerald here is going to dance for us. Hold it, hold it. Now, what's your problem, honey? Correction, folks. Miss Fitzgerald has changed her mind. She's not going to dance. She's going to sing. Ella Fitzgerald gave 3 encores and won first prize. However, she had meant to dance. Was it chance that suddenly changed her mind, Hillman asked? Did a singing gene suddenly kick in? Or might that moment have been an annunciation calling Ella Fitzgerald to her particular fate? Sometimes we resist our calling because, as fulfilling as it will ultimately be, it will lead us into a difficult life, perhaps even to a short life. Delicate and sickly, having almost died of pneumonia when he was 2, little Manuel was interested only in painting and reading. He stayed so much indoors and clung so tightly to his mother's apron strings that his sisters and other children used to tease him. Around his hometown, he was known as a thin, melancholy boy who wandered around the streets after school lost in thought. He rarely joined other boys' games of soccer or playing at bullfighting. But at age 11, something switched in Manuel, and suddenly nothing else mattered much more than the bulls. Manuel Laureano Rodriguez Sanchez went on to become Manolete, one of Spain's greatest bullfighters. Was a dim knowledge of the call there all along, Hillman asked? Then, of course, little boy Manolete was afraid and clung to his mother. Were her apron strings a metaphor, or was he already using her apron, her skirt, as a cape? Or perhaps he kept away from the torero games in the street, taking shelter in the kitchen, how could this 9-year-old boy stand up to his destiny? In his acorn were 1,000-pound black bulls with razor-sharp horns thundering toward him. Among them is Lero, the one that gored him through the groin and belly and gave him death at age 30, in the largest funeral Spain ever witnessed. If Hillman's acorn theory is correct, and I believe it is, having considered its implications in my own life and in the lives of those I've observed, Manoletti's life may have been short, but it was fulfilling, because he eventually left the safety of that kitchen to fulfill his calling. But it is not easy, even for those of us who hopefully won't have to fight bulls or otherwise risk our lives to find fulfillment. It's difficult because society tends to encourage conformity, not to foster individual self-actualization and fulfillment. Again, as Hillman so succinctly says, I believe we have been robbed of our true biography, that destiny written into the acorn, and we go to therapy to recover it. Unfortunately, most of us don't go into therapy with enough understanding of this phenomenon to say, hey, I've got a problem, I'm not fulfilling my potential. And few therapists recognize that the major cause of human unhappiness, discontentment, and depression is our inability to fully unfold. Yet Erich Fromm was one who understood again that the purpose of life is to develop into the individual one potentially is. And if not, he says, we are not fully born. That's the other thing about anti-abortionists that they don't get, that if we truly care about the unborn, then we need to care as much about the born, because all of us are still being born throughout our entire lives. The 17th century Danish existentialist Søren Kierkegaard believed that if we aren't able to truly be ourselves, or are unwilling to be ourselves due to fear and social pressure, we will live in a state of despair. Despair that he called the sickness unto death, a general feeling of being sick to death. Fromm says something similar, that if we don't achieve our full potential, we live a life of boredom. And if I were to imagine hell, he says, it would be the place where you were continually bored. And he doesn't mean feeling occasionally bored, like I wish there was something else to do, but chronically dissatisfied with life because we are unfulfilled. The opposite of unfolding is boredom. So how do we achieve such a state? How do we fully unfold? How do we become fully human by unlocking our fullest individual and human potential? And since few of us, if any, are ever fully born while we're alive, meaning we're always growing, always becoming, these are important questions to keep asking ourselves, as is knowing how to answer them. In my own journey, I have found several catalysts I consider essential to the process of fulfilling our potential. I believe the most crucial catalyst is character. Character is something we develop that eventually becomes the essence of who we are. And we develop character by learning to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. Philosophically, that's a tall order because nobody can ever truly know the difference between right and wrong. Some of the greatest thinkers differ on these questions. There are three schools of thought: rule-based ethics that say we should always do the right thing no matter what, no matter the outcome. And there are outcome-based ethics that say whatever we do ought to result in a good outcome. We shouldn't harm people in the process of doing good. And virtue ethics says we should always live by certain principles that must be upheld in every situation. And I've come to consider myself more of a virtue ethicist in recent years, who lives, as you've often heard me say, by Enlightenment philosopher Immanuel Kant's categorical imperative that nobody should ever be a means to somebody else's ends, but should be considered an end within themselves. This has also become known as the humanistic ethic, explained by Fromm as the sole criterion of ethical value being human welfare, and that the unfolding and growth of every person should be the aim of all social and political activities. That's my ethics, my virtue ethics, my categorical imperative. But again, to develop character, it is really up to you to learn about ethics. It's not something we teach, so it's not easy to learn about. We have to actively work to learn about ethics. Wrestle with its perennial problems and determine the basis of your ethics so that no matter what situation you find yourself in, your moral choices will be consistent with who you are. You will have moral integrity because of your ethical character, your ethical constant. Remember that the very word ethics comes from the Greek word that means character. That's what ethics means, character. Morality is just the way we go about demonstrating our character. But the character is what drives our behavior. It is the quality in us that is the same no matter the circumstances we're in. It is the quality that allows us to be ourselves no matter the situation, to fully unfold as ourselves no matter the difficulties we face and no matter whether the outcome is to benefit us or not. That's a big one. That's often the categorical imperative for some, right? How's it going to benefit me? It's not a good ethic. So don't mistake the difference between knowing the difference between right and wrong with your passing emotions or situational instincts. To fully unfold, to become fully human, you must develop character by becoming an ethical being who knows what right and wrong means for you. You have to at least wrestle with those questions and figure out an answer. Best one you can. And this goes along with another catalyst for unfolding: becoming emotionally intelligent. We're emotional beings, but our emotions can easily get the best of us and mislead both our thoughts and our actions. Becoming emotionally mature means that we are aware of our emotional states so that we can maintain emotional control and express our feelings in healthy and productive ways. It means learning to shift our emotional states to something more productive when necessary. And no matter how we're feeling, it means remaining empathic towards those around us, towards others, and having good social skills. Self-awareness, self-control, self-regulation, empathy, and social skills are the marks of an emotionally intelligent person, which is vital to achieving our human potential. Nothing worse than dealing with emotionally immature people. Sorry to say it. It is true. Another is intellectual integrity. Intellectual integrity. Emotional thinkers tend to rationalize rather than reason, yet believe because they have thoughts that justify their emotionally driven desires that they are being perfectly reasonable. Having thoughts is not the same as being reasonable. Hang out with emotional thinkers long enough, however, and you will find that they lack intellectual integrity, meaning that their beliefs are inconsistent and contradictory. Intellectual integrity is marked by critical thinking skills, consistency over time, and above all, the ability to see and accept the flaws in our own thinking. Emotional thinkers are desperate to convince everyone else they're right. Intellectual integrity wants us most of all to be honest with ourselves. Am I right? Could I be wrong? Could I be wrong? I hadn't thought about it that way before. I need to consider it. Another catalyst for fully unfolding is developing a philosophy of life. Another tall order. How many of us go through life without seriously having thought about what we believe about the nature of reality, truth, and meaning? Our answers to these perennial questions can and should change as we gain new insights and experiences, but even then, we should understand what the change was about and why we have allowed that change to take place, why we have made that change. We should know the reasons. My ethics, for example, have changed a lot over time, from being, again, outcome-based to now value ethics, or virtue ethics, as it's sometimes called. I'm more of a materialist and empiricist than ever before. I'm more optimistic about humanity in the future than ever before. And psychologically speaking, I'm more of a Freudian and a Freudian than the Jungian I once was. And today, despite the tremendous challenges that I've faced these past few years as one of the most despised figures in the religion that I love and serve, I am more fulfilled now than ever. And to face that bull. And I'm not going to go into all the reasons why I've made these shifts because I don't have time. But the point here is that I have changed my mind and beliefs over time, that I am aware of these changes, and I do know the reasons why I have made these changes. I know what I'm about. It's not enough to believe what we believe. We ought to know why we believe the things we do, and our reasons should be sound. So let me begin to conclude now by addressing the biggest question of them all. The one that leaves many troubled, even if they agree with what I've just said. How do I know what my purpose is? A lot of people tell me they don't know what their calling is, that they don't feel driven toward or passionate about anything specific, let alone toward a particular career. That's the first mistake right there, thinking this is a career-oriented process. That's part of the thing that gets us stuck. It can. Sometimes not. Sometimes we find the careers that are perfect for us. So I'm not suggesting that we are destined to have a specific career, only that the things that make us who we are should create the kind of life, including one's work, that satisfies us. Someone who is passionate about caring for others, for example, may go into medicine or social work or counseling or custodial work or education or many other options. There are many ways to satisfy that daemon. Someone who is innately physical may become an athlete, a construction worker, a firefighter, a park ranger, and so on. Someone who's a thinker may become a professor, a philosopher, a scientist, a researcher, a writer, and on and on. There are many ways to satisfy our inner purpose. So I'm not talking about destiny here. I'm talking about gravitating toward circumstances that we find fulfilling. Following our hearts, as we say. Follow your heart. With this in mind, the best process for determining our calling I know of is the Japanese philosophy of Ikigai, which means something like a passion that gives value and joy to life. Ikigai. And this requires us to answer 4 questions for ourselves. What do you love? What are you good at? What does the world need? And the pragmatic question, being that this is from Japan, is what can I get paid for? But many will say it's really only the first 3 questions that are important, that if you do what you love, the money will follow. Or at least it won't seem as important, because that's not the most important thing. Whether you try to answer 3 or all 4, know that it is at the intersection of where all of these answers meet that you find your Ikigai. The place they intersect is where you find your purpose, your source of fulfillment. And it's a very rewarding exercise to undertake. Wherever you're at in your life, to sit down with a piece of paper and answer these questions. What do you love? What are you good at? What does the world need? And if you want, what can I get paid for? It's a relatively easy exercise, but achieving our fullest potential isn't. Developing character and a consistent ethic, becoming emotionally mature, having intellectual integrity, understanding our philosophy of life, and discovering what will be most fulfilling to us, for us to do in our lives, is hard work. And it is continuing effort, because we always have room to grow at any age. At any age, just ask William Shatner, who's still waking up every day enthusiastic about what he's going to learn today at age 91. And at any age, life is relatively short. It would be a waste not to use our brief time here to fully unfold as individuals and as human beings. Thank you.
Well, we're going to close today with a song that I think many of you know, and that actually, I think, gives a feeling of expansion and unfolding, and that's The Sound of Music. So please stand and sing it with me.
church on a breeze, to laugh like a brook when it trips and falls over stones on its way, to sing through the night like a lark that is learning to pray. I go to the hills when my heart is lonely. I know I will hear what I've heard before. My heart will be blessed with the sound of music, and I'll sing once more.
Our benediction today is from the late American psychologist Abraham Maslow. A musician must make music, an artist must paint, a poet must write if he is ultimately to be at peace with himself. What a man can be, he must be. Amen, blessed be, salam alaikum, and shalom.